Excuse me, could you point me in the direction of Scream City? Never mind. I think I found it.
Welcome back, Ghost Hunters, to our 4th episode. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Monica. Man, dude, we're on our 4th episode.
I know, it's crazy.
That's insane. Time goes by so quickly. But we truly hope that you guys are enjoying the show, which, by the way, thank you to everyone who voted on our Instagram poll last week. So, bit of a funny story. Jessica and I were the only people who voted for Black Phone, which it wasn't intentional. I think we were both just like, I think we should, try to cover something new, something that the people probably want to know a little bit more about.
We'll obviously talk about it.
We are obviously going to talk about Black Phone, but we can talk about it a little bit later. But that movie was so good. Mm-hmm. And then 5 of you voted for Zombieland, and then the rest of you voted for Paranormal Activity. English is hard, okay? Yeah. I'm going to just...
I get that.
Right. But yeah, so of course we had to go with the latter option, and you guys definitely did not disappoint. I mean, this is honestly a really great movie, so I'm excited to talk about it.
Me too. And again, thanks to everyone who voted. That was quite fun, and we will definitely do that again in the future.
It was really funny to see.
Like who voted for what. Yeah, we know who voted.
Mm-hmm.
And to you other people who didn't vote, y'all are so fake.
We see you too.
But anyway, yes, I love this movie, and I know I sound like a broken record in every episode saying that I love each movie, but it's just hard not to love a good classic.
It's the horror freak in you. Yeah. You can't help it.
With the exception of a few, of course, classics that,
of course,
we don't have to love. But before we get into Paranormal Activity talk, I wanted to fill you guys in on some recent life events, some good and some not so good.
Yeah.
Monica, what should I tell them first?
I think it's only fair you start with the bad news. It's kind of a rule.
Okay. Bad news. Yeah. I got in a bad car wreck last week and I totaled my car. Boo. Long story short, my tire blew on the fast lane on the highway. I spun twice. It was very scary. And I stopped. I head on into incoming traffic. So... Yeah.
That was, I'm sure, traumatizing.
Very much.
She was by herself, so she was,
The night of that night, I was, actually, the following morning, I woke up and I was like, I woke up, very, oh my God, did that really happen?
Yeah.
But I'm fine, clearly. It obviously could have been much worse, so shout out to everyone watching over me and protecting me, because, man, I ended up in the other side of the highway. It was just crazy.
Yeah.
I hit my shoulder, my clavicle, and my face, and they were sore for a few days, but with some Tylenol and a limpia, shout out to my mom.
Yes, I was literally about to say that. I was like, you need a good limpia de nuevo.
Yeah.
Because someone gave you ojo.
Right. But the pain kind of went away pretty quickly. I was on my way to Monica's house, so I called both my brother and Monica because they were the closest to me, and they came to the rescue, and we spent the rest of the day watching horror movies, because what is more comforting after a bad car crash than a good horror movie?
Honestly, I couldn't have said it better.
Right.
Yeah, she was on her way, and her and I, with our friend Kelly, we were supposed to have a movie day, which we did. But I told her, I was like, hey, I'm not gonna... we're not going to force you to try and hang out. You obviously just went through something a little traumatic, so feel free to, go with your brother if you want to go home or whatever. But she chose to continue to hang out, which, cool. So I went to go and pick her up, and when you called me, I was getting the apartment ready. I was just kind of cleaning and kind of setting things out for us. And and she's like, hey, long story short, I got in a car wreck. And I was like, are you okay? She goes, yeah, I'm fine. I could tell that you were, shaken up, but you were like, I'm fine. And I was like, okay. So yeah, I went to go pick her up, and but yeah, I'm still happy that we were able to still get the chance to hang out.
Yeah.
Because Kelly got to see some really good movies.
Yes.
And Kelly, if you're listening to this, I want to know which one out of the ones that we made you watch was your favorite.
Probably Happy Death Day.
I really do. Yeah, we showed her Happy Death Day, and I was saying that I caught her trying to watch part 2 while I was in my session for therapy and after you had left. And she goes, Devil just finished and I started this one. And I was like, okay.
Sure.
So next movie day, we will watch Happy Death Day. So, yeah. But I'm really glad you're okay. Everyone say, yay, Jessica being okay. Yay. Physically.
Right.
Mentally, that's another story.
Yeah. Well,
physically,
anyway,
we're okay.
It was pretty crazy.
But on to the good news.
Maybe I'll post a picture of the damage on Instagram because I know some of y'all are nosy.
And we want to know. We want to know what
like
it looks
me.
like.
It's okay. I get it. But on to the good news. Can I get a drum roll, please? I am officially a U.S. citizen.
Woo! She's a USA citizen.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I had my naturalization interview last Monday, and boy, was I nervous.
Mm-hmm.
I did miss the first question, which was, when is the last day to file for federal income taxes? Which is like, why would
You're
she
like, I'm an early girl. I don't
Right.
know.
I wouldn't know. Like, I do it in February.
Right.
Like, why would she give me such a hard one for the first one? But anyway, the officer was nice, and I passed, and I'm just waiting on my oath ceremony, and then I'll be legit.
Yes, ma'am. She is officially an American girl.
Yes, ma'am.
And we're very happy for you.
Thank you.
I think the only recent update for me, and I think just the excitement, I think was for all of us. But
It's
I think for me,
nationwide.
it's hitting a little bit to home for me. But Pierce Tavel released a new song after 6 years.
Yes.
Dude, we are all so... I know all of my, like... my back in the day emo friends and everyone who's trying to relive like everything, like we're so excited. So it's definitely been on repeat. The song is so good. And so has King for a Day. And as Jessica, I've hyperfixated on this song once again. Last time I was so obsessed with this song, I was literally in middle school. But I have to listen to this song at least 3 times a day. And now that's slowly transitioning to their new song. But recently, I don't know, I've just been wanting to like relive my emo days, minus the trauma.
Right, of course.
So them releasing a new song when I'm back on my, mom, it's not a phase moment, I think it's just perfect timing. And my crush for Kellen Quinn and Vic Fuentes have also resurfaced a bit with respect.
Of course.
Because Vic recently got married, which him and his wife are so adorable, and I wish them all the best. They are both so lucky to have each other, but yeah, I don't know. There's just something about the 2009 to 2012 type of emo grunge guy that just does it for
that
me. You know
hair,
what I mean?
dude. We need to
swoop.
bring back that hair.
The swoop gets me.
Yeah, I'm a fan of both of these guys. So High School Me is freaking out as well.
Right.
I recently saw Sleeping with Sirens live a few weeks ago with Don Broco. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I think this was my 3rd or 4th time seeing them live. I need to take Monica next time.
You really do.
Yeah.
You really do.
My literal crush for Kellen Quinn is still very much relevant. He's such a cutie.
He is so cute.
Something about them Quinn boys, huh?
You know what? You're not wrong.
Right. And of course Vic is beautiful as well. I love him. But I love that meme. I don't know if you've seen it, Monica, that meme where it's like a still from King for a Day and it's like Vic and Kellen walking into the bank. And I don't remember like verbatim what the meme said, but I think it's like, my last 2 brain cells walking into work
because
or something
100%,
like that.
Like that's so
understandable.
True.
Yeah.
They are so adorable.
But yeah, no, Past the Nirvana is so good.
It is really good.
I mean, Pierce Veil never misses, but even my sister liked the song, which she likes a few Pierce Veil songs, but she never really fangirled over them like I do.
Right.
She is the one who introduced me to King for a Day like forever ago.
There's just something about King for a Day that's just, it's such a classic.
Yeah. But my sister was like a Warped Tour type of gal. But Past the Nirvana gave me sort of Don Broco vibes. So Don Broco is like a British band. I don't know if you guys have really heard of them. But they have a song called Bruce Willis, and Past the Nirvana kind of reminded me of that song.
I was gonna say, I think the vibe, like this song that they recently released. Sorry, this is all of a sudden turned into a Pierce the Veil review podcast. Just a quick mention, because transitioning, I feel like this is a song that I would see in a horror movie. Like I don't like, it gives
like
grunge vibes
sort of,
and like something about it just makes me want, like, I can definitely see someone getting ready to kill someone with this song in the background.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I love them, but I'm manifesting that we're able to see them next month with I Prevail.
Yes.
Even though their tickets are on resale, so F all of you guys who freaking
who try to buy things and try to resell them. Like, you're literally ruining. Again, this is another thing that you guys just, people tend to ruin things for other people. But yeah, very happy about that song. Definitely on repeat. I literally listened to King for a Day twice on my way here.
Love that.
So
I love that.
But yeah. Anywhoozles, back to what the listeners came here to listen about or listen to. All things Paranormal Activity. Woo, does this movie bring back so many memories. This movie came out in October 2009. which it actually premiered in October 2007 at Screamfest, but then they released it to the public in 2009, which is when we all, got to see it. And it was filmed in 2006, which is why in the stills, or not the stills, but every time they go to bed, you know how it has like the date and the time?
Yeah.
It says like October 20th, like whatever, and then it's 2006, because that's, I'm guessing, when they filmed it.
Right.
And then part 2 came out in 2010, which both came out at a pretty low time in my life, which is why I think I remember so much of these movies, because I was obsessed with, wanting everyone to watch these. But I also remember being super scared. I recall pretty vividly watching both part 1 and part 2 in theaters. I went to the theaters to watch part 1 with this boy that I had a crush on at the time, and I was trying to do the whole damsel in distress thing, but it didn't work because he was doing the exact same thing.
I love that.
He said, "I'm glad you mentioned something because we got to get the hell out of here."
Oh my god.
We were both pretty fucked after that movie, so I'm glad we got to experience it together. But I also remember being terrified because they made this movie look so real, given I haven't watched it. Well, actually, I watched it recently with Melody, and I was telling Jessica this morning, I was like, I was still a little spooked. I watched it like a couple of nights ago, and I woke up the next, like, at 4 a.m. because, like, I don't know, insomnia, I think.
And see, that's how you know it's a good movie. Like, you could watch it 17 times in one day, and you'd still be terrified.
Yeah, and so I don't know if it's just because I haven't seen the movie in a really long time, or because it's still such a good movie, but I don't know. I really loved it, but what about you?
So I do remember watching it for the first time because my life, funny enough, it hadn't gone to shit just yet.
Right.
I think yours was barely starting to go to shit, but mine hadn't.
2008 to about 2012 was mine.
I was still a little innocent baby.
Yeah, I love that.
I remember watching it, and hear me out. I'm like just so quirky and different, that I never thought that it was real, unlike many people did. Like, I know a lot of people watched it and was like, oh my god, this is...
it was.
Yeah. Like, yes, the beginning, like, prompt where it's like...
like, kind of like what
California
found footage
Department.
films are kind of known for.
It's
like, giving you...
We want to thank the family of Katie and Micah for allowing us to...
like,
show
release this basically. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't know if it was something about it that... in my mind, I was just like, that doesn't really look like a real story. Like, it's definitely, just acting or whatever. It's just a movie. But I still found it spooky, though. Like, shit. I like the things that... I think the things that got me the most were the smaller sort of things. Like, the door moving a little bit or the keys falling to the ground.
Okay.
Like, I think the thought of a ghost messing with you in the smallest way and making you think you're going crazy is just... amazing.
Like ghosts literally gaslighting you.
I love that. I love that.
I love
so
being
much.
gaslit.
For real. But I do have to admit, the two actors, Katie Featherston and Micah Sloat, have crazy chemistry on screen. Like,
amazing.
They really do make you think that they've been together for like 3 years.
100%. And it's so funny because, again, like, this is a movie that they had a low budget for, and it was made with not minimal effort, but it's just something that their budget for this movie, like, guess. Do you know?
I feel like
if you can take like a gander of like how much you think this
like
movie
$200.
cost to make. $200? No, okay, it was a little bit more than that. Like, it was more than that. It was, I think his goal was to, keep it at 10,000, and I think he ended up spending like 15,000, which for a film like that's basically $200 like to spend on something, right? And it's just so funny. So the creator, Oren Peli, was a software developer, and he basically did everything for this movie from beginning to end. And so because he knew his way around editing software, he filmed this movie with a home camera. I think that was one of the most expensive things that he purchased for this. He filmed it in his own house, which I didn't know. And I was like, that's insane. And he actually he redecorated his home the month before they started filming, and he was just like, welcome to my home. We're going to create a demon in here. And he hired unknown actors who ended up helping produce a lot of his things. And he did a lot of the CGI. So a lot of like the doors moving, a lot of the, sound effects and the shadows, everything. That was all him. And I just think that's like so cool, like to be your own person, to be like, all right, I got
You're your own boss.
Yeah,
I
think it said that he ended up editing like 70 hours of like footage into
Damn.
just the film, which is crazy because I think the movie's not even that long, right? It's like an hour and like
Yeah.
30 or something like that. So it's great. And I think, again, like, this just goes to show that, like, as long as you have a dedicated mind, the budget does not matter.
Right.
And I think that's, like, something really important. And it's so funny. So Oren, after Paranormal Activity, I think he tried to come out with Area 51, and the budget for that was like $5 million. And
Damn.
I'm sorry, but that movie flopped. Like, it did not make as much as he spent on that movie. So, you know, just to kind of put that idea in there.
Yeah. But again, like,
but it does feel real. Like,
it does feel real, and I think it's
of
because of the acting.
the acting.
I
is
feel
really
like
good too.
found footage acting. I think Monica and I were talking about this earlier. It can be a hit or miss. But for real, like, Micah and Katie they're both amazing actors. Which, shout out to Katie for being a fellow Texan. She's actually from Arlington, Texas, which is like 30 minutes away from us.
Literally.
And she got a BFA at SMU.
Good for her.
SMU's
Love
like
her.
down the road.
And it's so funny. We mentioned this too, that her character in the movie, like, she says that she wants to be an English major.
Yeah.
Which, okay, so another thing to kind of mention, and what kind of puts into perspective on why I feel like this movie is so scary and because it feels so real, I feel like it's because it was. Katie and Micah, first of all, are their real names.
Right, yeah.
He didn't even, I think he had originally Katie as like the character name, and it just happened to be her name too. But for everyone that else is that's in the movie, Amber and Dr. Frederick, that's their names too. And so he just kind of went off of that. But they weren't given scripts. So this movie from beginning to end is basically all
pure improv.
Yeah, it's all improv. And they were just given guidelines on how to be like, okay, like, hey, you know, demon just popped out of the, you know, demon's opening the door, act scared, you know, whatever. Or, hey, you guys are arguing about the demon, so create a dialogue. Like, and it's so amazing to see, because throughout the movie you just kind of see, like, I feel like, I don't know if it's just me, like, looking too into it, but Micah, like, at some point you can kind of tell that I think he's struggling with what to say, so he's just acting out of anger. And then that's when Katie comes in with, like, her amazing improv and was like, no, like, I forgot what the lines were, but she's basically, like, telling him off, like, your stuff is not working, I'm gonna call the demonologist, like, I'm tired of you trying to think that you could take this demon head on. And he's just like, whatever. And I don't know, like, because it makes you feel like you're watching a real couple fight about something that they can't physically fight,
when really they just met a few months ago.
Yeah,
and
literally.
I love that. I like, so in 2018, my sister and I went to the convention that Monica and I had went to, but
That
we
is so
didn't
funny.
know we existed.
And I didn't even know she was there.
Yeah. Wait, what year did you go?
I went in 2018,
Oh,
and
okay.
that's when the It Kids were headliners.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because that's who I was, like, really excited.
So
to
yeah, we went again to that convention in 2018. My sister and I, and Katie Featherston was a guest there, and we were able to meet her. My sister even took a picture with her. So if my sister gives me permission, I might post that that cute selfie. And so we went to her panel, and she mentioned that her and Micah, like, just immediately clicked, which I think is super cool. And I think it's so important. I mean, I say this and I'm not even in acting or anything, but but genuinely, I think it's very important for you to click.
With your audience and, like, your fans.
Yeah.
And, of
or with
course.
with your co-star,
Oh,
which is, I think,
yeah, I
even
see
more
what you mean.
important.
Yeah.
But that panel was moderated by Dr. Rebecca McKendry. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. She's a fellow horror freak, and she's also a film director.
Love.
And I think she
love that for her.
directed Bring It On, Cheer or Die. I think that's the name of...
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I think I... Maybe I'm thinking of something
So that was
else.
really cool. And Katie also mentioned in this panel that during the shooting of this movie, Oren and Micah stayed in guest rooms and Katie slept in the main room, which I think was really sweet of them.
Literally where everything goes down.
Right, yeah. But yeah, I didn't take a picture with Katie, but she was still super sweet. And it's so funny because I remember this vividly. My sister was like, "How are you liking Texas?" And my Katie's like, "Oh, I'm from here. I live in Austin." And my sister's like, "Oh." Even
She's
me,
like,
I was
"Oh,
like,
well,
"Oh, I didn't know that."
Never mind. Well, then
But-
how do you like Dallas?
Right, how do you like Dallas?
If you're living
Yeah.
in Austin.
Yeah.
That's true. Now, that's that's good to know that she's, like, really nice.
Yeah.
I love that.
Very sweet. Yeah.
but I don't know. I'm just so amazed. I always get. I was talking to my sister the other day, and she's like, I think one thing that I like about what you guys are doing is that you kind of give these facts. She's like, because us who are just so into the film, she's like, there are some of us who watch the film, we love it, and we don't really look into how what happens behind the scenes. We don't talk, we don't bother looking up like facts and stuff. And it's crazy because as soon as I do it, I get very like, oh, this is so cool, right? But did you know that, and I feel like this is something that is pretty well known, but that there were like 3 different endings to this movie?
Yeah, I think she also mentioned a little bit about it.
Oh, like on the panel? The, and they're all wild. I watched all of them like on YouTube simultaneously. Like there's a YouTube video and it plays all 3 endings at the same time. And it's so crazy. But there's the theatrical one, which is the one that we get to see in the movie. And the original one is a lot longer. And the original one is the one that the director tried to fight for because he's like, I like that one. I want that one. And then the production people were like, nah. They're like, no, we're gonna go with this one. Which I like the theatrical one. I thought it was pretty good. Yeah. And in the original one, it's a lot longer because she kind of does the same thing. Like, she stands over the bed and watches him, and then she screams, and then, which they all 3 include this, and then he goes out there to try and, like, save her. And she kills him, but she doesn't show how she kills him. She comes back into the room, and that's when she takes the knife and she unalives herself in front of the camera. Or no. Which one am I thinking about? That's one of the endings. One of the other endings, the longer ending, you see the police come into the room, and she's like on the bed, and she's like freaking out, and she's like, oh my god, like what happened? And then the cops are like, whoa, there's a dead body over there, and there's blood all over you. And then she's like, ah. But anyway, but yeah, and so, and I think the one that the ending that we get to see in the movie is an ending that Steven Spielberg helped with.
Yes.
And it said that I saw like a thing where he took home the DVD of the movie and he was so freaked out by it, like because he was watching it at night, that he stopped it and he had to watch the rest of it in the morning. But he had like an incident happen in his house where his bathroom locked from the inside, and he freaked out so bad, and he was like, this DVD is haunted. I'm not watching this ever again. And he took it back to the studio like in a trash bag. He's like, here you go.
I love that.
But honestly, like, same.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but it was pretty crazy.
I love that. Yeah. But so there's only 1 kill in this movie.
Yeah. Normally we would be like, what's your favorite kill?
Yeah.
Well, there's only 1.
There's only 1. There's only 1 kill count.
Right.
How do you feel about it?
I like it.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. I think the kill at the end was pretty cool. I like that she all of a sudden became a bodybuilder and just tossed him across the room. And as she should.
As she should.
Because throughout the movie, Micah was being really awful to her.
Yeah.
She was literally, like, you're trying to hold on to your masculinity so hard that you really think that you can physically fight a demon.
Right.
And then the entire time, like, she's...
And I love the Delulu era he was in.
He was going through a Delulu era.
Yeah.
It was so funny. And one of the scenes, like, where she's holding the cross so tight.
Yes.
And she's, like, bleeding. And then he's like, I'm so sick of this. And he's just, like, yelling. And I'm like, bro. But, yeah, like, the entire time, like, she was scared. Imagine going through something like this that feels traumatic to you. Yeah. And your partner's like, bro,
like,
stop.
Yeah, like, bro.
Like, dude,
you'll be fine.
It's not that serious. Yeah. And she's like, it's literally trying to eat me.
Yeah. I love that.
And not in the way that I wanted to.
The movie itself, like, yes, it's scary and terrifying. But man, is it comedic.
100%.
It has some comedic, like, aspects to it. I'm telling you,
me and Melody were watching it the other day, and we were just laughing so hard because we were just, like, thinking of, like, what the, like, there's some of the parts at night where, because so it lives in the attic, basically, right? And so every time it comes down, well, not every time, but some of the times that it comes downstairs, like from the attic, it turns on the light. So it's just like, it's imagine like he's just trying to turn the light on, trying to get a midnight snack.
Yeah, look at him.
It was just so funny.
But again, it's like naturally comedic, and obviously, like you mentioned, they weren't working on scripts. Like, all of this was pretty improvised, so it's pretty like.
So it's even better.
It's even better.
It's 100% better. I think one of the parts that there was 2 parts that I was fighting between that I was like, I think this would be my favorite part, but it's the scene where Micah puts a flower on the floor and you can see the footsteps of the demon, like these long talons, or just simply when the demon drags Katie like out of the room.
Yes.
So that was also pretty fun.
Yes. I love the part where Micah and Katie are waiting on the psychic, and Micah goes, so you'd think a psychic would be on time, you know, like he could foretell if
The
traffic was going to be bad, and I
Yeah.
love that. I was like, yes, Micah was annoying, but he was pretty funny sometimes.
Yeah, he did add some funny, and it was so funny. Me and Melody laughed at the part where the Dr. Frederick, the person who he comes twice.
Mm-hmm.
The first time is when she kind of explains to him her story with the demon and everything, and he's going, you know, he's kind of touring the house and seeing what, you know, where it kind of lives. And he had said, it basically feeds off negative energy. So the more angry you are or whatever, like it feeds off of that. And so he had said like, oh, we should stop inviting your mom over. She's a really mean woman.
Yeah.
And Katie's like, dude, what the hell?
I love that.
It was so funny.
But I also liked in that same, like, that first time that the doctor comes in, or the psychic is like, well, Micah says, like, what if we just get a Ouija board and, you know, we find out what it wants and we give it what it wants. And then the psychic goes, because it probably, like, that's not a good idea because what it wants is Katie.
Oh, yeah.
I love that scene because the delivery of that line is so eerie. It like, puts into perspective just how serious the situation is.
And how far, like, again, one of the things that just makes you so, like, oh, my God. Because of that whole reason, you know, he's like, just give it what it wants. And the thing's like,
you're not understanding
that this demon literally wants your wife.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to give him that, then
okay.
But
like,
that says more about you than it does about her trying to fight it. And, yeah, so, let's see. Trying to transition. Gonna cut this part out. But yes, man, I do believe out of all of the Paranormal Activities, though, the second one freaked me out the most. And I don't know why, but I think so. I actually wanted to watch the second one after watching the first one, but I was a little spooked, so I was like, I'm gonna watch something else.
A little break, yeah.
Yeah, but the second one is about her sister. Does this? I haven't seen it in such a long time. Does this take place at the same time that Katie is going through her, like, encounters?
Either same time or a little bit before, yeah.
Because I remember at the end of the second one, Katie shows up to her house, doesn't she? And she, like, kills her brother-in-law or something.
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
It's literally been a second. I
haven't seen it in a while. Well, either way, the second one freaked me out, and because of how much more, like, I think in the second one you see more encounters with the demon and his victim, which is the sister, and it's scary because it also involves children, and there's just something about, like, horror movies when involving children, just a little bit more of a no. You know, but I don't know. And then the scene where she gets dragged, like, out of the bedroom, they had said that it was one of the most difficult shots. So what they did was they took a bungee and they attached it to her ankle with a harness, and it was tied to her leg, and then the crew member standing on one end of the bedroom would pull her out from one side of the bed, and then a second crew member standing outside in the hallway would drag her out of the bedroom into the hallway, kind of using, like, a pulley mechanism, so just slowly pulling her. And then after that, the editing was spliced together, and then to create the illusion that that an impossible achievement was completed in seconds, which is all thanks to Oren Pelly.
I remember her talking about this in the Q&A.
Oh, really?
She said that if you look back, which I tried looking for it, but I guess the editing was
just that
good. Or maybe, I mean, I don't know, I watched it in the dark, so I don't really know. She said that if you watch it closely, you can see her leg, like, kind of prop up when she's in the bed. So it I mean, nothing in there looks natural, but I mean, I meant, like, you know, the encounters with the demon,
right.
In general.
So you kind of don't question it.
Yeah, so you don't question it, but the more you see, like, her leg prop up and, you know, and knowing that fact, it's like, oh, I know what's going on.
You know what? I actually did see that.
Yeah?
I did see that, but again, for someone who doesn't know this stuff, I noted it because I was like, because my thought when I was watching is when her leg propped up is that the demon tried to grab her ankle and was like, okay, like I can grab it, and he had like a hand on it, and then just a little bit seconds later you see like the drag. So again, for someone who doesn't really know like what the behind the scenes looks like, that's what my thought process was. So that's pretty cool. But according to the stamp on the video, which many of the demonic activities occur between 2 and 3:30 a.m., which I didn't really notice. Like, I knew it was, like, middle of the night, but I could have sworn that some of the stuff happened at, like, midnight or, like, 1. But no, it all happens, like, right at 3:14, 3 o'clock, or, like, 2:50, or anything like that. But this is also because it's known as dead time among the paranormal researchers. And that is when demon spirits and entities are supposed to be the most active, which, same, night owl, right?
Right.
But in the movie, you can also, it only happens one time, but you can hear the 3 knocks. And as, you know, people who watch The Conjuring, and if you've learned it from The Conjuring taught some of us that those 3 knocks are a sign that it's actually a demon and not,
in the words of Mr. Ed Warren,
yes,
he said that I think the first Conjuring, he said that those 3 knocks are supposed to mock the sign, the Holy Trinity. There we go.
Trinity. Yeah. And that's how you know it's a demon. So it's something a little bit more vicious and not necessarily like just a ghost or like an entity that's like, hey, girly. Like, no, this is a demon ready to fight. Yes. Which is very scary. So thank you, Ed Warren.
Yes. I loved the demonology talk in this movie. And listen, I love demonology, period. But
something about demons.
But I literally paused the movie as I was watching it just this last time to look more into demonology. I do this every single time I watch, like, The Conjuring.
Like, I want to...
I'm like, I want to learn a little bit more about it. Because, I mean, with great movies like Insidious and Conjuring and this movie... It just makes you want to look more into it. And another thing Katie mentioned in the Q&A panel is that Micah, the actor, Wolda, had gotten so good at holding the camera a little too steady that Oren was like, hey, man, you got to look like you're actually getting chased by a demon.
He's just like holding it super still. He's like,
and it's just like, this is looking a little too professional. And Oren's
I need you to, like, and not only that, but I think he had got, like, at the beginning of the movie, he said something like, it's a new camera, so he's testing it out. So it's like, you got to make it look like you're not knowing what you're doing.
Right. That too. But
it's like, sorry, I'm too good at my job, man.
For real.
That's so funny. And this is another reason why I hate / love The Exorcist, but did you know that Oren, and it's so funny because we were talking to Lloyd about this the other day, but he watched The Exorcist when he was really little. I think he was either like 4 or 7 or a little bit older. And he was traumatized. And it traumatized him so much that he couldn't even watch Ghostbusters when it came out. Because The Exorcist came out in 1970 and Ghostbusters came out a lot later. And he was like, I know it's like, he's like, I knew that it was supposed to be like a horror comedy. He's like, but I was just so traumatized with everything paranormal and like anything that had to do with that he was like, I couldn't watch it.
Can't watch Nathan
that has to do with the paranormal. And so he was like, nope. But imagine being so traumatized, which is me.
Yeah, you. I was gonna be like, you were literally. And here's the thing, I didn't grow up watching The Exorcist, so unfortunately I don't have the same experience that Monica or Lloyd did. But I mean, I have to admit, like, the way that The Exorcist has kind of traumatized these poor children. Yes. I mean,
like, thank you for traumatizing someone like Oren Peli who created Paranormal Activity, right? But it's just, it's like, it's so crazy to think about because I think what I love about the movie is how raw and real this movie was, like, how it was made. And I don't know, we're going to have to talk about The Exorcist, obviously, at another episode because there is a whole thing way behind. And I say this to everyone who are like, you know, what do you mean you don't like this? So I'm like, I like the movie. Like, I can appreciate it as a horror movie. It's just, I think because I know of some of the things that happen behind the scenes, it's what freaks me out even more. So that's why I'm like, I don't know. Oh, and Melody told me the other day, when we were watching it together, she was like, everything cool. She's like, love it. She goes, love the movie. And I think for her, learning to be an actress and everything, how everything was improvised. But one of the one of the facts that I had read is that Oren had bought the Ouija board that is used in the movie at Costco.
Love that.
And so she was like, oh, like, haha. And she goes, I would be terrified. She's like, one, I don't know if they knew what they were doing. She's like, there was literally only like 10 people involved in this movie. She's like, but I would be terrified to like open something that I wouldn't be able to close just to make a movie. And I'm like, that's so true. Like, we don't know. Like, given everyone has their different beliefs, everyone has like their different opinions or what you think is out there, what's not out there. Like, to each their own, right? But me, like, if there's a good, there's a bad. Yeah. But like, I would also be terrified. Yeah. Imagine just going to Costco, being cute, buying a little Ouija board.
Buy yourself a cute little Ouija board.
Setting it on fire.
Yeah.
Or like, doing this whole thing that I'm like, what if I open something? Because Micah was really interested in trying to, talk to it.
I know. So personally, I've never played with a Ouija board. I think my sister has. She's crazy. Yeah. No wonder her egg came out a little cooked. But again, like, I feel like it. I don't want to say this, but I feel like it'd be kind of fun
to play with the Ouija board.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I go back and forth. Yeah. I do the whole like. I think something that me and Melody talk about this all the time, and we had when I used to do YouTube videos with Melody, we watched a ouija. And one thing that me and her talked about was that I feel like it's with anything, right? So if you go in with the intention of, first of all, I think you should know how to do it correctly. I think that's the one thing. Obviously, like, educate yourself if you're going to do it. I don't think it has to be something scary and terrifying the way the movies portray it. So that's to each their own. But again, if you go in with the intention on wanting to bring back something scary, or if you're wanting to go in, if you go in scared, you're going to get back something that's not so
friendly.
Yeah, exactly. And, these movies always say like, oh, you can go in, think you're talking to one person, but you're actually talking to X, Y, and Z, which is true. So, and we had seen there's a lot of YouTube videos about people who are like, yeah, like, it's just, it all depends on what you manifest when you're doing it. And then I think the biggest thing is just always close it and always just say goodbye at the end. Never leave something out in the open. For sure. Which, always get closure. That's a life lesson in general.
That's just a life lesson.
That's just
get
a life
closure.
lesson. Don't leave anything open ever. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I think maybe. I don't think it's a terrible idea. I think, again, you just should know.
Let us know in the comments if you think our next episode
we should play with the Ouija board.
Yeah. I love that.
100%. If anything, once we start recording our podcasts, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
We'll let you know.
Yeah.
We'll just dedicate a whole episode of us trying to, like, I mean, it's the fact that they sell it at, like, in
Target.
the kids section. Yeah. In the toy section for kids. And, Toys R Us used to sell it all the time, too.
Damn, I don't think I knew that.
Yeah. Toys R Us used to sell Ouija boards. Apparently Costco.
Costco. I know Target, Walmart,
yes,
all them.
It's so funny. I was telling Jessica that I was watching the trailer for this movie because I don't remember watching the trailer for Paranormal Activity. And it's also like a found footage film type of trailer. One of the comments in the YouTube video was that the real horror part of this movie is the decorations in this house. And
2006 was a
wild
horrifying
time.
Yeah.
Melody, the entire film was just like, I can just tell this man lives by himself. And it's so it was really funny. It was really funny to kind of see that he had to actually prepare his house to look like that, because he hadn't had the steel railing on the stairs the way that we see, and then his walls were actually all white, and they weren't I was looking in the bedroom, like where everything happens, and the bedroom is like an ugly green. Yeah. I'm not a fan of the green color that he has in the walls, but
this movie in general is very it traumatized a lot of us in 2009.
100%, yeah.
100%. And again, like I say this and that I'm like, I didn't think it was a real, whatever. But I mean, still, like, it was still very, very spooky. Yeah. And heck, even watching it the other night, just recently, for this episode, it still spooked me.
I was gonna say, yeah, I was still very like, if I hear banging or if I hear noises out in the hallway, and I mean, each night given if you live with a demon or with entities, like I don't think it matters. But that's just another reason why I cannot sleep with my door open.
Mm-hmm.
Sleeping with my door open makes me feel so unsafe. Because one, it lets in, I don't know, if an intruder were to ever get into my house or like whatever, it's like at least I have the doorway. Like
right.
I don't know. That probably makes no sense.
No,
but,
it makes sense.
But you know, because of my cats, I have to keep it open. But the way that I was eyeing my like crack like between my door and my wall, I was just like,
I love the paranormal. I really do. Like, paranormal is my favorite genre.
Paranormal makes you feel delulu.
Yeah, it makes you feel
100%.
delulu, and you know the ghosts and the demons gaslight you and all of that. I'm like,
They
you know
really
what?
do.
I appreciate it. They're the only people. They're the only beings that I'd ever let gaslight me.
Right, 100%.
Yeah.
I think it's because they're trying to show you so much that they're real, and as they should.
They're like, oh, you don't believe me now? Well,
Yeah,
wait
and I
for
feel
this.
like again, watching so many movies, I haven't really dove into like demonology in general, but I think with all of the movies, we kind of know that since demons. And I feel like sometimes bad spirits feed off negative energy. So when, again, in the movie, you see the encounters progress a little bit further and you see it get worse, but you also see the relationship get worse too. So I feel like, you know, the goal for the demon so that he can have Katie to himself is to obviously separate her from, you know, in this movie, her spouse.
Right.
But I feel like the same goes for like Paranormal Activity 2 and 3 and all the other ones, is that they kind of just make you go delulu to the point where you're like, nobody believes me, and he's like, yeah.
And then they take you to this like breaking point.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you're at your weakest, and they're, you know, they notice that you're at your weakest, and they're like, great, I can grab her now.
But little do they know, I'm already at my weakest.
I'm already at my
you
lowest
don't understand
point.
how much. It's so funny because me and Melody were watching, and she was like, I would be way too busy with my own mental demons that my physical demon trying to get me would not be like not going to be a priority.
I'd be like, you need to wait.
You are the bottom of my list, sir. Listen, I have other mental demons that I need to fight.
I'll give you your I'll give you the attention that you want. Just
I'm
like,
so scared.
But yeah, no, this
obviously not trying to what is it?
Mock or
not trying to mock anyone's actual encounters.
Right? No,
with,
of course.
Anyone's demons.
We're just saying
if anything, please let us know.
Yeah,
but,
please let us know.
We're just saying, you know, trying to make light of a situation that's so traumatizing. But woo!
Overall, it's such a good classic, and overall a good film.
I love it. I think it's a good paranormal movie to like. Now, I think it's like a good paranormal movie to start off with.
Yeah.
For
for sure, I get why, you know, watching it in 2009, it was like absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But now I feel, and heck, I mean, who knows? Kind of to each their own.
True.
However you decide to view or take into perspective this movie, it can still be terrifying at watching it for the first time.
Yeah.
But I definitely do see, you know, why it was absolutely horrifying in 2009.
I love it.
And I love the natural like editing too, like nothing too crazy, no crazy CGI.
Again, as long as you have your dedicated mind, your imagination, you kind of know what you want this, you know, the route to go for your movie. It'll happen. Yeah, it'll happen. You don't need all these fancy schmancy things.
Right. But anyways, I think this concludes this episode. Yes. I'm really glad we got to cover this one since we're entering spooky season.
We are entering spooky season. I'm so excited.
Yes. But thanks again to those listening, and thank you again for voting on the poll. Yeah. It means a lot, and it, you know, with the great amount of feedback that we got from this poll, we'll definitely be doing it again. Please continue to support us on social medias, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. All at Scream City Podcast, minus Twitter. Twitter is at Scream City Pod. P-O-D.
P-O-D. That's so funny.
Yeah.
And obviously, please stay tuned for our next episode, which we will be talking about, drumroll please, Shaun of the Dead. Yay!
Y'all,
I'm really excited for this one.
I love Shaun of the Dead.
I think it's only fair since Zombieland was a close call in the polls. So we decided to talk about a horror comedy, but why not start with the classic? We'll eventually talk about Zombieland, but Shaun of the Dead, I think, has to be a base.
Yes. Love me some British people.
One of the first, right?
I wish they were real. Yeah.
Yes, it's on Peacock, so I'm
Yeah.
excited to rewatch it. I haven't seen that in forever.
Girl, it's
so
a
I'm
comfort
excited
film
to
for me.
relive it.
I watch it
It's
all the time.
I'm excited to watch it. So, but yeah, that's gonna be our next episode.
I'm excited. But until then, stay safe and stay
spooky.
Oof, that was scary. I can't wait to come back next week.